A few comments now on our president's reluctance to act and his obvious preference for words spoken and written. President Obama, who's been roundly criticized for his lethargic and clumsy response to the terrorist group, the Islamic State, and British Prime Minister David Cameron, who's won praise in Europe and America for his response, have come together to write an op-ed in the Times of London, in which they said, quote, "If terrorists think we will weaken in the face of their threats, they could not be more wrong. Countries like Britain and America will not be cowed by barbaric killers." Mr. Obama chose well as editorial partner, but should have given Cameron the lead in its writing. Barbaric killers who decapitate citizens of the world's only superpower and in half a year have taken greater dominion in Iraq than the United States could in the final years of our presence there, aren't likely to be dissuaded or even for a moment doubtful when reading the assurances of two powerful leaders. They won't be cowed by terrorists who were dismissed as JV at the beginning of the year. Mr. Obama is having a difficult time of it with these JVers who can't cower us. And the pale, limp language of the president's words spoken and written while in Europe are not exactly those of a great leader in a profound response to national challenge, especially after being upstaged by his vice president's newfound bellicosity and bravado just the day before he spoke. Our vice president yesterday.
When people harm Americans, we don't retreat. We don't forget. We take care of those who are grieving, and when that's finished, they should know we will follow them to the gates of hell until they are brought to justice. Because hell is where they will reside. Hell is where they will reside.
And now, our president.
We know that if we are joined by the international community, we can continue to shrink ISIL's sphere of influence, its effectiveness, its financing, its military capabilities, to the point where it is a manageable problem.
An unsettling tone to many, the difference between the two men, so stark. Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen, in an election battle with Republican former Senator Scott Brown, blasted President Obama on Twitter. She, quote, wrote, quote, "Do not believe ISIL is manageable. Agree these terrorists must be chased to the gates of hell," end quote. Some of our national leaders' bloodthirst demands war with the Islamic State right now, because those terrorists beheaded two of our fellow citizens, and they are appropriately angry and outraged and demanding action. But those same leaders haven't demanded that Iran be vaporized because it was responsible for a third of our casualties in Iraq and is now a sponsoring force behind global terrorism. Among those leaders are some who wanted to actually arm and supply the Islamic State just months ago because it opposed Bashar al-Assad in Syria. And one of our national leaders seems to believe he can simply avert his eyes from the reality of pressing challenges and mortal threats to our nation. And all of this leads to a series of existential questions. Among them, how many failures are required for a failed presidency? And when do the failures of a president amount to the failure of an entire nation? And when should the people demand better of all their leaders, not merely a president?